Good evening, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alista Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gacha episode 28. So, the story begins with Renge. She returns home. She sees her grandma. They have a hug, and she returns to a haunted house. Yep, her whole village, including her house, is haunted, and she gets greeted by a lick attack. No, not from a Lickitung or a Gengar, but, it's a ghost, so she got licked by a ghost. And after the opening credits, this entire scene with the Alliance returning to school and all that, I was just bursting out laughing, pausing the show, and just like, these writers, oh my god. You could already tell that the writers of this show is making me feel all frustrated and just like, what's your reason behind your madness? Like, what is it? Because let me start the scene, and you will understand. So, Sabimaru and Renge obviously are visiting family, so they're not there. So you have Mirado Sensei, Spanner, and of course Houtaro and Kudo. And for whatever reason, they're just walking ever so slowly into the classroom in this hallway. And I have to give credit when credit is due here. And that credit belongs to Mirado Sensei. He said all the right things. He tells everybody that I don't think I deserve to get my job back, nor being welcomed back to the school after everything that he has done. And I give kudos because he's right. Because for me, he hasn't earned it. He hasn't regained the trust of his students because of what he did. But of course, people in creative just wrote down, we're not going to have that. We're just going to have the Alliance accepted him back into open arms and forget everything that's ever happened. Because of the reasoning behind Kyoka's, the answer from Kyoka that, he made a heel turn for the sake of you guys, for the sake of his students. So, yeah. So, that happened. And then I said, kudos, Mirado Sensei, you've done something right for once. Then here comes cringy Houtaro. And after he finished his sentences, I just paused the show and I was just like bursting out laughing. And I'm like, this is sad, funny, and all around true. Just to sum it up, everything that he said. Houtaro said, you're the only teacher the school needs, and who's gonna teach us if you're not there? Yeah, he said that. You're the only teacher the school needs, and who's gonna teach us if you're not here? Okay. I paused. I was laughing. And I'm like, okay, Houtaro, you're right. Because, for one thing, he's the only teacher available. The only teacher available. Kyoka is not really a teacher, and Fuga is still in hiding. Why? The master is sealed up somewhere. Don't you think it's safe enough for him to return? I'm just saying, I'm just asking an honest question here. Those two, Fuga and Kyoka, would have been the perfect teachers. But then again, after the heel turn, air quotes, the students just did well on their own. I was like, you guys need a mentor. You need a teacher after what Mirado Sensei did to you guys. But apparently they don't need it. They learn by themselves. So why do they need Mirado Sensei? This is just another honest question to you guys. But anyways, so he's the only teacher in the entire alchemy school. And I have to say this. What kind of school, and I said this before, has only 4 students and 1 teacher? It's just the whole setting. It's just one classroom in a hallway. Of course, we have the flashback where we see more places in the school, but I wish they people in creative would like execute it a little bit more. However, I've started to understand why everything is like the way it is, because I realized that Houtaro and Kudo have regular high school to go to and attend to. So I'm sure that after their normal school hours, they have to go to the alchemy school, and that's why it's so empty. If that's the case, okay, it makes sense now. It makes perfect sense. But still, I don't feel, it doesn't feel like a school environment to me. I would rather have extras going back and forth, enter into classrooms, and actually see Miro Sensei teach his only 4 students alchemy. We never get an opportunity to see that. But then again, I mean, people could say, well, Dayhawk, that happened off screen. That happened, like, behind the scenes. So we don't need to see that. I'm like, that's just a stupid excuse. And to me, it's like, I don't care. I want to see, like, a teacher teaching his students to make me feel that, he's actually teaching these kids something. Because for right now, I'm just, Minoru-sensei, you suck as a teacher. And Houtaro, unfortunately, you're stuck with him. But I'm sure you prefer it that way anyways. You're the only one that the school needs right now. Who would teach us if it's not you? Jesus. I'm trying to entertain you guys because the writing of this show is so stupid. Okay, I'm moving on, you guys. I'm moving on. So after that cringy Houtaro moment, the Alliance returned to the classroom. According to Houtaro, it's his second home. I'm home. And then we know that so far, between the pilot up to now, they captured 78 cards out of 101. And another stupid moment, you could say, this time from the Alchemy Association. They left a message, and it goes like this. We didn't know that the master was the root of all evil, so my bad, our bad, sorry. And I also noticed that, you nearly collected all the cards, so keep up the good work, and yeah, late, Johnny. Yeah, my audience, it's exactly what happened. And Spanner pretty much sums everything up of what he said. And I have to say this before I move on. The Alchemy Association, I think for the writers, already planted the seeds that there's a possibility that the organization could be the next baddie until the master returns. Okay. Now, the Alchemy Association must be living under a rock because they didn't do anything to help. The kids had to do all the work and had to deal with not only Minoru-sensei and the sisters, but also heel turn, air quotes, Minoru-sensei. And yeah, this reminds me of the Old Republic in Star Wars, where the Jedi Council refused to do anything while the Republic was burning and the Mandalorians were capturing planet after planet, and it took Remen and Malak to ask them and tell them, hey, can you help us? We need to help the Republic here. And they say no, because the true threat is not the Mandalorians, it's something else. So it's similar to that. But the Alchemy Association, they didn't help him once. Remember when Minoru-sensei asked him for help that first time? And then the second time, it's just, I don't know. It needs to change, like Minoru-sensei said. But it's just the Alchemy Association so far, it's like you didn't do anything, and your message to all the kids and the only teacher that you have right now is like, oh, we didn't know that so-and-so was evil. are bad. And keep up the good work. Capture them cabbies, Johnny. I literally just pause and I'm just like, I'm gonna. The writing of the show. Okay, so after that awkward message, it's Renge's turn to give the heroes a message, and she tells them, "Hey, can you come over to my village, please? Because I believe the village is haunted." And as she is starting to explain her problem to the rest of them in Tokyo, all of a sudden, this weird alchemist just took her Chemi locator and just like, hey, what the hell? I'm talking to someone here. And this exorcist, did I say alchemist? I don't know. My bad. Exorcist named Starshine Hoshino appears and say, hey, you don't need to call anybody. I am here to help you with your ghost problem. And here's my apprentice who just came out of the character closet, Kajiki. Yes, everybody, Kajiki, after how many episodes ago, he just came out from the character closet. And they do a weird pose. Yep. So, Hoshino and Kajiki is on a mission to cleanse the village from evil ghosts and demons and yokai and all that stuff. So you already know that, yes, it's gonna turn to hell. And so Houtaro and Kudo, quickly just went to Renge's hometown in the middle of the night, mind you. Renge explains again to Houtaro and Kudo about her encounter with the ghost and the lick attack. And as she is explaining the situation, you can see Houtaro is pretty much holding his pee because he's getting all scared. While Kudo, as you know, she's a fan of horror, so she's suddenly happy and excited as Renge is telling the story. And then, all of a sudden, we get to see a hitodama. And, of course, everybody screams except for Kudo. And Kudo was like, let's follow it. And just drags Houtaro. And Renge's like, wait for me. And it led them to this abandoned house in the middle of nowhere, of course. They got inside. Next thing you know, Houtaro gets slimed. And they looked up on the roof. And then they see a ghost. And everybody is screaming, but of course, Kudo is like, laughing and happy. So all of them went outside the house. And then all of a sudden, the girls decide to like, hey, let's just stick Houtaro and fight that ghost. So Renge just out of nowhere just takes the gotcha driver, place it on Hotaro's waist, and then of course Renge just steals the cards and just like, okay, you're gonna transform. And Hotaro's like, what the hell is going on? What are you guys doing? and of course, Houtaro, these girls are just gonna throw you into the fire. You're gonna fight the ghost. That's what's happening right now. And so Houtaro transforms and he is all alone fighting this ghost. And mind you, I'm surprised that Kudo did not transform. Because Kudo, I already imagined Kudo fighting a ghost. I think it would be a dream of hers, but it didn't happen. So Houtaro does the honors, and you can already tell that the ghost was winning this fight. Because Houtaro ends up with a hurt leg, a burnt ass, and webbings being reflected to his face. So you can tell already that it's done. It's game over. And then all of a sudden, overprotected grandma appears, trying to protect her granddaughter. And then here comes the exorcist with his apprentice, of course. And, they do the over-the-top stuff, as you can tell. And believe it or not, that over-the-top stuff that he did and the attack called the Star Wave, it really chased the ghost away with all the bright lights that were beaming out of his necklace, the 4 orbs that he have on his necklace. And then, as the ghost, runs away from the light, all of a sudden, Fire Mars, out of nowhere, just pops out from his card and decides to hop along the Hoshino and Kajiki train because he went inside the beats. And you can already imagine that Houtaro, being the overprotected mother, be like, oh my god, Fire Mars, give it back. But obviously he couldn't because the orb was hot, and of course the exorcist just pushes him away a little bit, and then they talk for a little bit and they ran off, leaving poor Houtaro, eat their dust. And Kudo, by the end of that scene, was like, boy, oh boy, they sure move fast. One of the problems I have with, the actress who plays her, like, her face is all wooden. Like, her acting is all wooden, and I wish she had, like, a more facial expression, but, but that's something to be discussed later. So the poor excuse of an exorcist and an apprentice runs off, and we get into the next scene, which is pretty much 2 random people, and they're trying to find this village, I assume, and all of a sudden the 2 ghosts, air quotes, appear behind them, trying to scare them. Mind you, it was in the middle of the day, and oddly enough, those 2, even though they were a little scared, they decided to throw rocks at them. And then, lo and behold, Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 9-year-old, appears with the golden Rubik's Cube, and you already know what happens at the end of that scene. So we get to the next scene, where Hoshino and Kajiki is doing the Chris Jericho moment of, drink it in, man, moment. And, as they were, soaking it all in, because the villagers are giving thanks and thank you, for the saving of our village. Our village is no longer haunted. And then Houtaro was like, yeah, it was not haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by 2 chemis. And according to Houtaro too, the beads is supposedly like cosmic category chemis, whatever that means. So I'm guessing the 4 orbs that were in the necklace could be chemis as well. That's why Fire Mars decided to hop on that beads train, I guess. And Kudo wonders, like, how did he obtain such a power? Which, of course, Kajiki just burst in from behind and be like, oh, so you guys are curious about my master, eh? And I don't know who says not really. Was it Kudo or Renge? I don't think it was Houtaro. I think it was one of the girls that said not really. But regardless if you're interested or not, here comes Hoshino. And he's just like, I will tell you the story of how I obtained my powers of being an exorcist. So we get this weird, funny flashback of him being, a part of this rigorous training. To sum it all up, we get into this flashback of Hoshino's, hard and, hellish training. And we get into this scene where he uses one of his toes to check the temperature of the water, and it was so cold that he fell off a cliff. Yeah, guys, that happened. And the editing, whoever's in charge in the back of the editing, was like, they did a lousy job, because everybody knows that was a dummy that just fell off a cliff. Either they did it on purpose just to get some laughs, or it's just they didn't think that, oh, well, it's a kid's show, so I don't think the kids will notice that it was an actual dummy than a stunt person. Either way, they did a horrible job, but if they did it on purpose, okay, I guess. But, well, Hoshino, the dummy, fell off the cliff because the water was too cold. He lands himself in another part of the river. Somehow he survived with no cuts and bruises. And he saw 4 pairs of gems, these globes, and he is gingerly reaching out to them and telling them, hey, can you please give me the power of whatever to make people happy and save people. I want to be a hero. And that's how the story ends there. So Hoto's like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Now it's starting to make sense. So, yes, so we get this funny flashback, and with the dummy falling and the discovery of the globes and the wish of helping people. And then after that flashback, you can see the folks listening in and be like, oh my God, wow. And again, Hoshino is doing, the Jericho thing. He is drinking it all in until the party was interrupted by 2 Melgaims. Somehow, some way, these 2 Melgaims knew what they were going because, I don't know, they discovered where, Hoshino and the villagers were, and they started to attack. But of course, Hoshino to the rescue, right? And he tries to do that thing he did last night, but it didn't work, and one of the Melgaims ended up punching him at his face, which threw him across the room and landed in a pack of boxes. So he got knocked out cold. And so the girls were going to take the villagers away from the danger, safety. And then Hotaro took 2 Melgaims away, and he transforms into Platinum Gacha, and then he starts fighting them. And of course, Weird Sister number 1, who's been played by a 9-year-old, just looks on. She doesn't interfere. And then, long story short, Hotaro destroys them, captures the 2 Kemi cards, and he does his gotcha and cringy thing. My name is Hotaro. What is your name? Can you be my friend? Ugh. And then we get into the last scene of this episode, where we get to discover who the hell these 2 people were. And lo and behold, they are called land sharks. Now, I never heard of that name before other than loan sharks. But apparently these land sharks are here to tell the villagers that, hey, you have a couple of days to move out of this land because this land is going to be turned into a toxic waste dump or something. And the villagers obviously don't want to lose this land because they live here. But unfortunately, the villagers are up there in age and they can't do anything about it. And they're pretty much, they gave up. And of course, Renge is like, I'm not going to let my village get turned into a dump. So I'm guessing in the next episode, Renge, Kudo, and Houtaro will help the villagers find a way to keep their village. But then, after the whole discovery of these 2 people, you get this old man who just stepped out of the room, and he encounters a monster, I believe, and he screamed from the top of his lungs, and everybody in that room is overhearing like, oh, what the hell? There's a scream, and Hoto is like, this is not over. And yes, it's not over, but the episode ends here. What do you expect for this episode? Because we just came off from the Master's defeat. Everything needs to be cooled down at the moment. We need like a filler, funny episode. Hence this episode. It was okay for what it was, but like I mentioned before, like the beginning part of this episode, I was just like laughing and just giving that awful look, like, really? And I don't want to repeat myself again here, but just to sum it all up, Miroto Sensei said all the right things, but Hotaro pretty much point out what I've been saying from the very beginning, that he's the only teacher in the entire school, and who's going to teach him? But then again, it's like you taught yourself, so what use is Miroto Sensei? because again, the alchemy school as of right now consists of four students, one lousy teacher, one classroom with a hallway, and that's it. That's clearly it right there. And Kajiki just came out of the character closet. And what else am I missing here? Oh yeah, the haunted village. And yeah, I mean, that's just sums it up. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what I said in past videos, but you get the gist of it. So I'm not gonna. It's just the writers of this story, of this show. I need to know, like, what makes this or this makes any sense. And also, again, I have a question for you guys. Do you think that the people in creative, with that dummy, they made it on? Was it on purpose to have this scene with the dummy, or they did a terrible job terrible job with it? I think they made it obvious just to make it funny, I guess. But that's besides the point there. But thank you so much for listening, and please let me know, have you seen this episode? What's your take on it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? It's somewhere in between. Just write on the comments below. Interact with me. Why don't you? One last thing before I go. There's two things actually. One, I am considering doing a recap of Fire Gacha, because supposedly they're gonna make a special for him. I may be planning on doing that. I'm not sure yet. It's on the fence. And the other thing I want to say, this is another cool theory that I want you guys to think about. And I just thought about it last night. Do you think it's a possibility that Fuga and Hotaro's father could be working together behind the scenes? What do you think about that theory? That's something I never came up until last night. Like, is there a possibility that those two are working together? Just food for thought. But also, since the master's defeated, I'm like, Fuga, come back, please. We need ya. Because why are you continuing to hide when the master is right now locked up in another realm? Unless the bigger threat is the Alchemy Association, which, by the way, God, what a stupid message is that? Oh, my bad. Keep up the good work, Johnny. Oh God. Anyways, I think the writers want us to throw eggs at the Alchemy Association, since they're gonna be the bad guys actually. But okay, enough rambling, right? So give a like if you like it, and please subscribe. And I'll see you all on the other side of oblivion. Johnny!